All right, this week's question of the week is my thoughts on events like Jiu Jitsu and what do they call it, high rollers. What do I think about these type of events where basically, like Jiu Jitsu, from what I get, is you drink beer and you just roll with your different training partners, and then whatever many beers you drank, whatever. And then high rollers, I think it's actually a tournament where it's like you smoke marijuana and then you roll, and then you smoke some more marijuana and you roll, and you do you. So what are my thoughts about it? So I'm going to answer that from the perspective of a person that would either compete or train, and also from the perspective of a business owner. And both answers for me is the same. Absolutely not. So from the perspective of a person that trains, one, when you do jiu-jitsu, you're practicing and you're executing techniques that ultimately could lead to serious injuries. So it's very important that your reaction, your reflexes are on point, as well as your mind is making good decisions. And as many of us have found, there's an old joke here in the South, what do most men say before they die in a tragic event? Hold my beer, watch this. Like, it's, when you are intoxicated, it's a known fact that your decision making is impaired and it leads to bad decisions. So I would not want to risk my body to somebody that was intoxicated, whether it's alcohol, marijuana, or any other kind of drugs. Like, no, like it's going to affect that person's decision making. It's going to affect their reflexes. Nah, it doesn't sound like a good idea to me, especially because I turned 56 in a couple months, and I get injured easier, and it takes much longer to recover and rehab from these injuries. So it's like, no, I wouldn't want to put myself in that situation. Now, from the perspective of a business owner, my thoughts on it is the same. Absolutely not. Because what each one of these organizers need to do is, if you're running a business, you got to have business insurance. Some people don't, and they just risk it, but you need to have business insurance. Read your policy. And not only read your policy, but contact your insurance company, describe the event, and say, if there's a lawsuit out of this, will you cover me? Very important. Like, I did a video talking about liability a couple weeks ago. Somebody commented, oh, he's just looking at it from the perspective of a business owner and not a martial artist. Absolutely. Every decision you make about your business should be from the perspective of both, whether you're a martial artist or a chef or a mechanic or whatever business you do. You should look at it from the perspective of that expertise and the perspective of what's in the best interest of your business. So you're going to have to see, what does your insurance company think about this? If somebody takes a catastrophic injury, will your insurance company cover you? And there's a good possibility they won't. And can the people who are signing up for this event consent while they're intoxicated? It's just like people say, oh, there's risk involved. And it's like, yeah, there's risk involved in driving. But that's the reason we put seat belts, speed limits, stop signs. We don't allow DUIs. Like, yes, there's risk involved in this, but we're trying to mitigate risk by putting in some common sense rules to prevent more catastrophic injuries. So I think, and I'm not an insurance expert, nor am I a legal expert, but there's a good chance if people are intoxicated, they're going to ask, well, How many beers did this person have before they broke this dude's neck? Or, before they broke their back or broke their leg? I don't know. Well, is that going to be a good answer in court, in a civil court? Good. It's a question you should be asking yourself. And same thing. It's like, well, how high were they, before they went in and did this tournament? And can a person that's intoxicated consent to a legal form from the get-go? So even if they signed a waiver, were they intoxicated before they signed the waiver? What was their status? And can they consent? As a business owner, you better know the answer. Whether you're, whatever your ideas are, that you think, this side guy, he's an old fuddy-duddy, or, he's thinking about business first. Yeah, I'm an old fuddy-duddy. Yes, I'm thinking about business first. And the people that don't think about their business before they enter into risky adventures like this, well, they have a tendency to go out of business. Because all you would need is just one good lawsuit where you're not protected. Because think about it, if your insurance company isn't covering you, that means that civil lawsuit, you're going to pay for a lawyer out of your business expenses to go to court and represent you. And how much do you think that might cost? That might cost 50 grand, 100 grand, maybe more, depending on how big the lawsuit is. Can you afford that? Is that a risk you're willing to take? So I would say if you're coordinating it or thinking about hosting it, whether it's any kind of event where people are getting intoxicated, you should contact your insurance company, describe the event to them, describe the protocols you're putting in place, and ask them whether you're in good hands with Allstate or a little Geico guy. Ask them, hey, somebody gets seriously injured, they bring in a civil lawsuit, will you cover me? You should ask before you hold that tournament, before you hold that event. And I said, as a competitor, my concern would be, or as an athlete who trains, my concern is like, I don't want to get injured. And yes, there's risk in jiu-jitsu, there's injuries that can happen in jiu-jitsu, but that risk increased greatly if the person is intoxicated. Because intoxication does not make you make better decisions. I'm not intoxicated, my English is already terrible. Yeah. So, that's the answer to this week's question of the week. Got a question for next week, feel free to fire below. And of course, if you agree, you disagree, or any insights you have, feel free to make your comments. And you can disagree with me, it's all good. Till next week, ciao.